Hi, my teachers, principals, educators. Just to recap, from the last episode to the next couple of episodes, I'm going to explore along with you the mind related, thinking related, feelings related issues, which takes away the focus, the concentration of a student, which drains the energy of the teachers. In the classroom we come in order to produce an outcome. But for some unknown reasons, quote unquote unknown reasons, it doesn't convert itself into learning. This is what we are going to discuss. For this, one topic I have taken for the couple of episodes to follow next is what is called a cognitive behavior therapy. This is the recap of what we have been talking about. So in the last episode I talked about, look at the feelings involved. Feelings make a very big difference. There is a close connection between feelings, thoughts, thinking. So we will do a couple of episodes to understand, to know and to explore what's happening in the process of learning. That's why I keep saying, when 10 units of teaching is delivered, how much of it is converted to learning? So let's see the next episode. This is episode 11. Now I will expand this small little circle that I have given. All of us have thoughts, and thoughts trigger emotions in us, and emotion makes us to behave in a particular way. I want you to make a note of few words: thinking, thoughts, emotions, behavior. What is the difference between thinking and thought? They look similar. Sometimes we may even use them interchangeably. Thinking is different from thoughts. Thinking is by my voluntary action. I start thinking about an issue in the classroom. I start thinking about the teenage problem, infatuation issues in a school. I start thinking about the state of economy today. I start thinking about the employment opportunities. These are all thinking. I can decide not to think. I can decide not to think. I can say, right, I don't want to think about poverty in the world. I can say I don't want to think about the child labor issue. There are a lot of political turmoil going on today in our country. I want to shut down all those things. They say, well, that's not my interest. I can decide not to think. So thinking is my process. I can initiate. For example, I can choose to think about the role of teachers in the society. Now with another 60 days to go for the exam, I can initiate a thinking of how to make children perform better. So it is my self-initiated, self-controlled process. That's called thinking. But thoughts are automatic. Whether I like it or not, a thought will occur about GDP. A thought will occur about what is happening in some of the Indian universities today. A thought crosses my mind. It is said on an average, on a normal working day, about 70,000 thoughts cross our mind. Some of the thoughts we are aware, some of the thoughts we are not aware. Some of the thoughts we are conscious, some of the thoughts we are not conscious. That's why I read a quotation somewhere, an idea can change your life, a thought can change your life. Somebody started thinking, why should I not fly? And then Wright brothers made it possible. Somebody thought, why iron cannot float on water? And so the ships have come. So thought, thinking are two different things. The second one is called feelings. So as I said, thought, what we think affects how we feel. Let me give a simple example so that you understand. Let us go away from the school context to a general context to understand the link between these three parameters. Let's say that your assistant, she is or he is walking on the road and you say, hi, good morning, you wave your hands. And he does not wave you back, but he looks at you, but he does not wave back. So the situation there is, this person is going and you wish and in return does not acknowledge your wish. What thought can go in your mind? One thought is, see, he is not looking at me. He is known to me so well. And assume that there is a loan obligation pending with you for the next day. You want to finalize your decision on that. Or his leave obligation is pending with you. Next day he comes to your room and your thought is what? See, he has not acknowledged me. And maybe you are insulted. Maybe some of other colleagues are also there. Assume that you are the principal. So, next day morning when he comes to remind you, sir, what happened, madam, what happened to my leave application, my loan application, what are you likely to do? I am sure you may not be happy because that thought, why the hell has he not acknowledged my greetings? Your emotions, what we feel affects what we think. Supposing you are irritated, you are disappointed, you are angry. So you are likely to tell him what? No leave application. I will not give you leave. After all, we are all human beings, no? We are not like Buddha or maybe Mahavir or saints who have transgressed or transformed, not transgressed, transformed all these basic temptations of feelings. And so you are not likely to favor him. Now let us rewind the entire situation. You know, in movies, they do all this gimmicks. Let us rewind, go back to the same scenario. The same situation, he is walking on this other side of the road, you wave him, he is not acknowledging. In the previous example, your automatic thought was, see, he is not even acknowledging. And so that led to a feeling of anger or whatever. And so the way you treated him next day was different. But supposing what other thoughts could have you could have had? In one of my seminars, when I do a brainstorming, various thoughts started coming. One person said, maybe he has got some issues in the house. Maybe his, I know his son was not doing well previous day, maybe he is sick. Or maybe he is so confused, there's something should be worried. Supposing that thought comes, oh, he is not acknowledging, I don't know, what's the problem with him, you start wondering. Next day morning when he comes to your room, with this automatic thought, that maybe he has got some problem in the house. So your emotion will not be one of anger, your emotion will be one of compassion. Your emotion will be one of feeling empathetic to his needs. And so once your emotion is one of compassion, what are you likely to do? You are likely to say, hey, what happened yesterday evening? I saw you in the marketplace, I waved, you are not even acknowledged, and he will have his own reason. And then, okay, come, let's see what that you want. Sir, madam, I want my leave application or my loan application. Now, with this replaced thought, automatic thought and feelings, I am sure your behavior will be different. This is what I call the link between the thought, the emotion and the behavior. In a classroom, especially in a classroom, especially in a school situation, there are 40 students and you are delivering your message with 40 different students who have 40 different thought processes going on in their mind. You have your own thought process going on in their mind. Your relationship with the children, the way you interact, your rapport with the children, everything will affect this cycle of thoughts, the cycle of emotions and the cycle of behavior. I hope you will understand. So, with this thing in our mind, let's take a look at what is that we are going to cover in these episodes. Maybe about 3 episodes I will take. In my personal workshops, I go very deep into this. We make the teachers and the educators to do some exercises, role play, all that we do, but in a media, in a program like this, we have certain limitations. So we will understand what is cognitive behavior therapy. We will also understand how was it developed. We will understand what does the research tell about its effectiveness, where are all it is used. We will also understand what are the basic principles of CBT. How can we apply CBT for enhancing personal effectiveness, our own personal effectiveness, our own rapport building with the students, our own rapport building with our colleagues, with the superior officers, with the society at large. See, one thing, let us be very clear, your own feelings, your own emotions will make a big difference when it comes to interacting with people. It's not necessarily the other man's feeling. We will understand how do we deal with limiting beliefs. Ultimately it is beliefs. I believe I can, so I do it. I believe I cannot, so I don't even accept it as a challenge. How do we deal with the habits and negative thoughts? Habits. Systematically a child is not doing homework. Systematically a child is not designed the way you want them to be designed, not focused. Negative thoughts. I deal with these situations in a counseling. The parents come with the child and the parents say, you counsel my child. When I go deeper, I find the problem is not with the child, the problem is more to do with the parents. Or sometimes the children bring their parents, sir, I have this problem with me, my father is not doing this, my mother is not doing this. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I got a student, why should I leave, sir? This kind of a thing. My parents are not supporting. Then ultimately I convinced him there is nothing wrong with the parent. The way you perceive the parents' rules and regulations, discipline, it makes a very big difference. So this is what we are going to cover. Now before I go, let's understand the 3 words. Cognitive Behavior Therapy, CBT. Cognitive, conscious mental activities such as thinking, understanding and learning. Cognition. How we understand behavior. A person is shaking the head like this or head like this, or you are addressing something, you say, come on, respond, is not even responding. How do you understand? Do you know what is going on in his mind? We know what is happening externally to a person. A person may be showing his anger, a person may be showing his confusion. Couple of days ago when I was talking to a student, I could understand some of the micro movements in his facial expression. A kind of a irritation, a kind of a, worry, anger, contempt. That's why in one of the episodes I showed you the facial expression. Next time when you meet people, start noticing the micro facial movements. Micro facial movements. You'll be amazed. In fact, these subjects will make you so sensitive to human behavior. And you should be able to understand what is happening in his mind. All of a sudden a person switches off. All of a sudden a person is interacting. So cognitive means the central activities such as thinking, understanding and learning. All these three things are linked with each other, isn't it? Are they not? In a classroom situation, the children should think. They should think how this law of thermodynamics is going to help him in his life. In a classroom situation, how understanding the law of gravity is going to help him. In a classroom situation, the children should think how mathematics is so relevant in life, leave alone for the board exam. And that will make him to understand. Supposing I think it's not going to be useful to me, why would I want to understand? And why would I want to learn anything new? Behavior, all of us know the way in which a person acts. The voluntariness, the involuntariness, the willingness. When I ask questions, come on, volunteer, somebody who will come and speak something about GDP. How many children come and speak to you? Behavior, which can be seen. Whereas these things cannot be seen. The thinking cannot be seen. Your understanding cannot be seen. The learning cannot be seen unless and until you give a test. Therapy is treatment of mental or emotional illness by talking about the problem. Therapy, you talk about the electric therapy, you talk about the wax therapy, you talk about the, therapy is to do with how do we deal with such issues. So, cognitive behavior therapy. And before I close this episode, I thought I can take you through some of the quotations. Keep thinking about this over the weekend. 5% of the people think, 10% of the people think that they think, and the other 85% would rather die than thinking. Amazing quotation for Thomas Edison. It's not so easy to think. We may ask people, come on, think about your future. If he thinks about the future, why is he bunking the classroom? So 5% of the people think, 10% of the people think they think, and 85% rather will die than thinking. So make people think. In an informal team meeting, call your students who are struggling, make them think, let them project. One of the episodes I explained to you how I used NLP to make a person to think. This quotation is interesting. A thought is harmless unless we believe it. It's not our thoughts, but our attachment to our thoughts that causes this suffering. By itself, a thought is harmless. We say drinking is good, let us say. It's harmless at that origin, but our attachment to thoughts that causes this suffering. I think this teacher is not going to help me. Okay, one thought crosses. But I go on finding instances how that is true. Then suffering starts. Attaching to a thought means believing that it is true without inquiring. A belief is a thought that we have been attaching to often for years. This is by Byron Katie. So very, very clearly, a thought is so innocent unless we make it a dragon out of it. Okay. The third quotation, we are shaped by our thoughts, we become what we think. When the mind is pure, joy follows like a shadow that never leaves. Now, my thought, what is my thinking about this subject? What is my thinking about the teacher? When mind is pure, joy follows. We become what we think. That's why later on I am going to discuss with you what are limiting beliefs. First of all, detach the thought from the belief. Thought is different, belief is different. First it enters me as a thought, it becomes a belief, then I become a slave to my belief. So in this episode we understood basically what is CBT, what is cognitive behavior therapy, how thoughts are different, thinking is different, emotions are different. We need to look at the situation and what thought process is triggered in his mind and then start working on it. We'll discuss more about CBT in the next episode. See you next week.
SRMJV is not just a school, it's a one-time experience.
VM Nagar, Tiruvallur,